What's up, everybody? This week, Gregg Gregory returns as we talk about our third and final part of The Simpsons. That and a whole lot more is to come, because maybe no TV and no beer make John something something. And you know what's even more ironic about all that is that I don't drink beer and I don't watch that much TV, which is really, really weird. Anyway, never mind. How's everybody doing, guys? Hope everybody is doing well. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 3 of the 90's podcast right here in the Because Maybe Network. I am joined once again by Gregg Gregory. Greg, how are you, brother?
Hey, good. Good to be back.
Man, it's the fact that it's taken us this long to get this done is one thing, but trying to come up with these jokes is another thing. So, so I want to thank everybody who has tuned in, downloaded, listened to everything that we've done over the last couple of weeks. I really do appreciate it. It does make me feel a heck of a lot better about what's been going on. As of recording right now, I have a ton of material waiting to go through all of our endeavors, shall we say. And, you know, I'm doing really, really, really good about trying to get everything out there on time. So thank you guys for bearing with me. I know it's been a long wait, but hopefully the wait has been worth it. So, man, what have you been up to these last couple of weeks?
People ask me that normally. My automatic response is that I've just been chilling, but I really haven't. I've actually been extremely busy. Between my normal job as an audio producer, editor, was also did some freelance work scoring a film nice. Called New Eyes, short film. I think it was maybe 10 minutes long. I actually mixed, mastered, produced, and engineered. Did everything except write, basically. Ron Hewitt came into my studio and we cut that album. I've been playing shows with the Holodecks a lot, been doing that. I just been busy being a dad and just kind of like doing the like rock and roll thing at night and the dad thing during the day and the worker thing during the day. So yeah, I've been super busy big time. I haven't really had a real day off in a while. I've got one coming up, I think Sunday, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Right, I know about not having these days off. Man, summer is almost over from where we are right now, and I cannot wait for the kids to go back to school. Yeah, I really can.
I'm not looking forward to the school zones coming back, to be quite honest, because that's kind of I know it's we need them, and it's for the better and stuff, but at the same time it's nice to be able to just do a solid 35 right down the road to my kids' daycare and not have to yield for the school zone, not feel guilty that I might
well, you do
peg somebody or something.
I guarantee you there is somebody who drives through that thing about 40 mile an hour every day to get their little angel off to school, with coffee in one hand, cell phone in the other, and
smoking a cigarette, reading a paper. I've seen all kinds of shenanigans on that side of the road. So I wouldn't doubt it. But it's sad, but yeah. So I guess we could just go ahead and put a quick PSA out. August is coming. That means school zones are going to be popping back up. So y'all keep an eye out for those.
Yes, and remember, if you hit a child, it's 100 points. No. No, I'm just kidding.
The general rule of thumb was, as a joke, was however swift they were were worth more points.
Because the nippier they are, the harder they are to hit.
Yeah, because if it's an old lady like with a walker, okay, you're gonna get like 5 points for that. But say it's like a really skinny, short man on a very fast motorcycle.
Oh yeah, that's
like 1,000 points.
That's 1,000 points, easy. And
but all joking aside, don't hit people with your car.
Yeah, don't hit people with your car. And if you do hit people with your car, make it look like an accident, okay? Just, don't blame us, okay?
Because Maybe Podcast is not responsible for any accidents occurred by the commentary you have listened to in the show.
Correct. No, one of the things that I've been doing around here the last little while is I've been trying to get this. Look, I've been in this in my studio since October, right? And I so far have gotten my desk built. I've gotten my equipment set up, and Like, everything else I haven't done. Like, everything that I need to do. This table right here, right, that we're recording on right now, is in the wrong position for a start, right? I've got a whole pile of boxes against the wall, so it's blocking my treatment that I need. It's just...
Yeah, I mean, it works for now, so, I mean, I guess that's the most important thing. But, yeah, I mean, every studio that is being, built by one person from the ground up is always going to take time. I mean... I've probably put 60 or 70 hours into mine, and it's still not done.
Oh, no.
I had a bunch of sound tiles I didn't glue correctly.
Oh, I hated that.
That just fell off. There was a big bass drop during something I was mixing. And I saw something move in my peripheral. I look over, and there's just this bare spot on the wall where a sound tile was. I was like, oh... Perfect.
Well, for our old company where we used to work for, in the old building that we had, they entrusted me to put up the treatment in my office, and it was the jankiest thing that you ever saw in your life. Now,
I disagree. I thought it looked good.
Oh no, I'm not talking about the one that I actually did in the office that you ended up being in. I'm talking about like the building before that.
Oh, okay.
It was the actual, the foam stuff, not the wooden boards that we had, right? And this stuff was so bad that I didn't even put enough glue on there that they started falling off the next day.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about, like, I'm more of a I know how to use audio recording software and how to record. Setting up a studio from the ground up was kind of a new endeavor for me. So yeah, I've definitely learned a lot, and I'm going to continue to research and try different things and etc. I've got some different paneling I'm looking at that's actually a little bit decorative because I'm going to have people in there and stuff. So,
well, the thing is,
go that way. Who knows?
Thing is, I don't do DIY. I call a guy because I'm the kind of person. If I was to do home improvements, my house would go down in value.
Yeah, well, anything, and I'm talking about just like hanging a monitor mount on the wall or running a cable here, or if I go to like hang lights or add wall plates or something, yeah, I'm going to be calling a professional for that. No worries.
No, that's yeah, because I have, that's one of the things, right? And I'm going to go on a slight rant for a minute. I apologize. You hear all these things about people say, oh, millennials these days, which translates to people under 40, by the way.
Basically, between 20 and 40 or something like that.
Yeah. They don't know how to sew a button. They don't know how to cook. They don't know how to do DIY. Yeah, we don't. Why didn't you teach us? Oh.
Yeah, that was your responsibility.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, just mock us if you dare, but don't call us when the modem goes out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, right. Or when you get you drain your entire retirement account to some Arabian prince who was really nice.
Yeah, especially that nice Nigerian who wants you to send over his lottery winnings.
Yeah. I talked to a lady in line the other day at the grocery store. She was complaining about the self-checkouts, how they were, well, if I'm going to use those, you're going to have to pay me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I tried to explain to her, like, the positive impact that technology would have on our local economy, because it takes technicians to install it, to build the software, to design the software, to update it, to maintain it, to calibrate it, to you're talking dozens of jobs per checkout thing.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, blah blah blah, and she just wasn't listening to what I was saying, and I was like, okay, so let me ask you this: do you use the ATM? Do you use the drive-through at McDonald's? Because that's pretty much like saying you're going to put a banker out of job if you get your cash out of the ATM machine.
Thank you. Well,
it's no different. You know what I mean? It's technology, people. I mean, it's here whether you like it or not. Use it or just be quiet.
I think this, right. The self-checkout thing bothers me the most. It's because, right, and I can say this without, I used to work bagging groceries. I used to work at a grocery store. I know how that is.
Yeah.
It's not a hard job, but it's not an easy job either, right? a lot of people say, "Oh, you're just stacking shelves." Well, that takes its toll after a while.
It's physically demanding, and you have to deal with people too, and they're all up in your biz. And I've had some friends who stock shelves like to get through college and stuff, and work cash registers, and I've heard all kinds of nightmare stories, dude.
But the reason why people hate self checkouts, right, has got nothing to do with the mysterious remove item from bag in area or anything like that. It's because they think that doing something like that is beneath them.
I could see that. I mean, I don't know. I think it has its place.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going in to grab like 2 cases of water and like a Snickers bar,
you don't need to tie up a line.
I don't need to go to see Gertrude in lane 4 for that. I can swipe one of those things, hit quantity 2, skip bagging, swipe the other thing, and stick a 20 in there and jam the change in my pocket and walk out of there in under 30 seconds.
Well, not just that too, right? The other side of the coin is the person who goes to the self-checkout with 2 grocery carts full of food.
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I'd hate to limit anyone's freedom by telling them that they can't do that, but at the same time, it just makes more sense to like have that be like, a small to medium type transaction. I don't know. It's
common sense. And unfortunately, common sense is not that common.
But anyways, it was hilarious. I love running into Luddites and them complaining about stuff that's just a part of the inner workings of our society now. I found an article where there was people in the 1920s complaining about paper. Because these kids, they don't know how to properly clean a slate. They don't know how to do arithmetic on a chalkboard. They're stuck with this silly paper, and I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that's what they were saying. It was wow.
See, I want to find all of my old math teachers and yell at them because what were we all told? You won't have a calculator in your pocket growing up.
Well, they're partly right, though, because I don't. I have a supercomputer.
Yeah, I mean, I have a home personal IBM computer in my pocket.
I have something in my pocket that is faster and has more memory than the first spaceship that went to the moon.
I could make a lewd joke there, but I'm not going to.
That's crazy.
Now, I'm going to do something that we never do on this show, right?
Okay.
Very, very briefly. And I'm going to go slightly political for a moment.
Okay.
And I want to say a big congratulations to Britain's new Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. Because he has been the first politician to unite liberals and conservatives in the United Kingdom by pointing out what an idiotic he is.
Wow.
I mean, I've got family who are hardcore conservative. I've got friends who are hardcore liberal, and everything in between. And the unanimous decision is, oh my God, we've just elected a monkey in a wig as Prime Minister.
I saw a photo of him playing guitar on the wrong side of the capo. Is that a legit thing?
That's a legitimate photo.
Wow. I mean, and the funniest thing about that is he's doing a legitimate G chord, like it's an actual chord, but there's like a capo's like 3 frets above it. So for all you non-guitar players out there, that basically equals not that chord.
It's like
not no sound, but not that chord.
It's the equivalent of talking on your phone to get out of an awkward situation when there's nobody on the other line and then somebody calls you.
There you go. Or walking up to a microphone and then taking the microphone off the stand, putting it on a stool and talking into the microphone stand.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, you've seen that one? Yeah, it's this really, really pretty lady. She walked up. She's like, she starts talking to the microphone and she just sets it down and grabs a stand and just like gets really, really personal with it. It's so funny.
So good luck to everybody back home. You guys are going to need it. And that's as far political as I'm going in this podcast. But yeah, like I said, it is nice to see somebody bringing conservatives and liberals together. Okay, guys. So before we jump into The Simpsons, if you guys are on social media, check out Because Maybe Network on Facebook. Go to YouTube, bit.ly/bmnetwork-YouTube. If you're on Twitter, look up _Because Maybe. And of course, this podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. And hopefully in the next couple of months, we are going to branch out. But right now, I'll be completely honest, that's a lot of work that I really, really, really don't want to do. And guys, also, if you are on Facebook, check out the Holodecks on Facebook, check out the Holodecks on Twitter, and go to theholodecks.com. That's where you'll find Greg and the other guys whose names escape me right this second because
Dexter, Ben, Adam.
That's right. My brain is just all over the place right now. But this is where you find information on what the guys are doing over the next couple of weeks. and over the next couple of months. And if you're in this area of the world or any area of the world where they perform and you haven't seen them, go watch them. It's a damn good show. So we're going to go ahead and get into The Simpsons, but I have a gentleman wants to sell everybody razor blades. Hello, I'm Broken Glass founder and CEO Mike Smith, and I recently created Broken Glass razors. I noticed that all the name brands of the store could cost upwards of $40 or more for a couple of razor blades. Well, the men of the world do not need these fancy 6-bladed razors when you can have a box of our Broken Glass razors. Here's how they work. Every week, we will send you a box of our cheap disposable razors. We will send you 200 razors throughout the year and charge you $15 per month. With our patented blunt cut, you can cut your face to pieces, scarring it up, making sure that in the future, hair will not grow. These babies will slice, dice, and scar you for life. With our patented blunt technology, hair will clog immediately, promoting discomfort. And of course, ladies, we know you need attention too. That's why we have our special ladies range. That's right, darling. For $20 per month, you could get a slightly blunter razor in pink for your dainty, feminine hands. Use the code I'd rather shave with glass at the checkout for a free bottle of rubbing alcohol to make shaving an even more painful experience. Broken Glass razors, because precision comfort razors are for p***s.
Cultural impact. Yeah, so basically Larry the Cable Guy is like the Guy Fieri of comedy. In a nutshell.
Welcome to well, no, not even Flavor Country. I mean,
Flavortown?
Flavortown. There you go. Okay. No, just before we get into The Simpsons, right, we'll brief segue this one for just a second, right? And one of the things that The Simpsons did a lot of was parodies and stuff like that, right? But it didn't base its entire career off parodies. Why is it? Do people in the South still like and tolerate Larry the freaking Cable Guy?
I don't know. I guess because he's relatable to a lot of them, and he's, I don't know, topical. So
I mean, he is basically a complete parody of the uncouth Southern redneck,
right?
And people around here lap him up.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I guess it's just because he like tapped into that representation of like what they think like a homegrown Southern man is.
I bet half the people who are fans of his don't realize he's from Nebraska and he's taking the. I mean, that's
I heard he wasn't from the South, but I thought he was like a true Yankee, like he's from like New York or Maine or something.
Well, the funniest thing about it is, one of the reasons a lot of British folks hate James Corden is because he played a working class dude in a way that was similar to Larry the Cable Guy. It was a complete parody and blah, 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 blah. And whereas Larry gets away with it. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Anyway.
This really clever marketing. I mean, anytime you see when you see something bad that is heralded well, that sells well, or etc., it's simply because it was marketed very well. I mean, look at a lot of the pop stars right now.
Oh, yeah.
There's a few of them with talent. I mean, I'll admit that, but there's a lot of them, that I'm not going to go into like names, but a lot of them, man, it's just like overproduced garbage, so I mean,
featuring Pitbull.
If you look good and you got a good marketing team, man, you can go a lot of places. I mean, I know we've worked with some people that have made us look real good, so I know it's possible.
Is Pitbull this generation's Faith Evans?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't really know a whole lot about him other than that it's always sunny inside wherever he is. So
yeah, well,
he's always got sunglasses on.
I guess his nickname is Featuring.
Okay. Right.
So, all right, let's go back into The Simpsons. The Simpsons. Okay, so the last couple of weeks we've been talking about. Me and Luke last week spoke about some of the great shows. Me and you spoke last week, the week before that, about the nuts and bolts of what's going on. Real quick before we get into this, give me some of your favorite Simpsons episodes, just off the top of your heads.
The first Treehouse of Horror.
Oh yeah.
It was just because it was just it was already a great show, but then to see like a really amped up like special version that was actually, you know, a couple mini episodes was really, really cool. It kind of creeped me out too. I was pretty young though, but also I'm not sure what the name of it is, but I think it was season 1 or 2, the one where Bart was hanging out with all the bullies and they were looking up the clouds, talking about cutting the head off of the statue.
Yeah.
And he went ahead and did it. And I don't know why I always remember it, but I remember when Bart came up to him and it was like, he shows him the head. He's like, hey, I cut the head off the statue. And Nelson's like, he's like, what are you doing, man? That was just cloud talk.
That was the original locker room talk.
Yeah, they
grab him by the hacksaw. So let's carry on with some of the with more in depth about the show itself. Okay, so the first half of the first season, right, was not necessarily geared towards kids, but definitely trying to get a younger demographic. And
sure. Well, I mean, back then a cartoon kind of had to rely on that demographic because at that point we hadn't really bridged the gap between cartoons and cartoons being something that adults would actively seek out and watch. There was like really no mainstream adult themed cartoons yet, like Family Guy, Futurama, blah 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 blah, all those.
Yeah, the only things that were out were like feature length stoner movies.
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't have South Park, you didn't have all these other things that kind of came off of the heels of a lot of what you saw on The Simpsons. So I think that was probably a smart move as they moved forward. They realized that their audience was A, going to get older, and B, they had to, if they wanted to appeal to a wider audience, they had to break the mold of a traditional cartoon, which is normally targeting kids, like, you know, 15 or younger.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like I said, because Bart and Lisa were the focus of the first half of the season. You had bullying, peer pressure, vandalism, school, you know, just general
grades. There's another one where Bart almost doesn't pass the 3rd grade,
and he prays for like a winter storm or something like that.
So, and then something happens, like he's talking to his teacher and he starts sobbing because he said that he failed, and he blurted out some comment about he must have known how
blah blah blah
this certain general felt at this one battle, and she was like, oh well, that was actually a
extra credit question.
Yeah, it was like a note on the test that you know gave you like an extra point, and now you have a 60%, and that's a pass.
Like he was proud of that D-, put it on the fridge.
Yeah, exactly. He put it over all the A's.
Right, but it wasn't done in like a kid way, you know, in the sense of a PSA type thing. It was just done like, you know, I guess
like a familiar moral, like kind of coming off the heels a little bit of the Peanuts cartoons.
Yeah,
because they were wholesome, they were family oriented, but the morals and the lessons were kind of aimed at a younger crowd.
Definitely.
Like don't forget to tie your shoes before you go outside, Billy. Like, it was just stuff, just
right.
You know, just really wholesome, and I think they kind of tackled some more provocative issues, some more vague than others. But yeah, I mean, they definitely created a pathway for a lot of other people.
And I think once that well ran dry pretty quickly, they started moving to, you know, more adult themes. Because that first season, that first half is definitely dominated by Bart and Lisa, but then you have episodes that they do the family therapy with the shock therapy.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right about that, and I think we've spoken about this off of recording before, about how the emphasis of the show shifted from. It started specifically on the family, a la The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Specifically the kids, Bart and Lisa, and then it kind of shifted outward to the parents, and then by season 2 or 3 you actually saw a shift to the entire city, because they realized that they had these other characters that they could utilize, like Chief Quimby and Ralph and Flanders and the Otto, and all these great, really, really, they had these talented voice actors. They might as well use them to their
full potential.
Now, yeah, exactly, and it gives you more to talk about if you talk about the whole city. So it seemed like they did kind of inevitably have to do that.
And I think not just the inevitability of doing it as well is, as you said, all the characters were great in their own way, and especially the supporting cast definitely, you know, I'm supposed to say this. Very few shows had a rich supporting cast like The Simpsons did. And it's... You said it yourself. It'd be a shame not to use them. I think that's one of the things South Park eventually got right. You know, they had all these extra characters. You know, I mean, Randy Marsh didn't say any words until 2004, 2005, and now he's one of the breakout characters.
Yeah,
you know?
to me, he's one of the best characters of all time.
It's just so funny.
Thought this was America.
Is this America, man?
Stan. Just the way, yeah, it's so funny.
But I think you mentioned this last week as well, or last time we spoke. They challenged what normal was.
They did. They kind of bent the perceptions of what a cartoon was too. I'd even go on that limb, because you weren't just seeing this was something totally different. I mean, as someone that watched cartoons, for hours every day for most of my childhood, I know what I'm talking about. It was very, very different, and they knew they had something different, and they rode that puppy, and they're still riding it, and they're gonna ride it till the wheels fall off.
Well, see, that's the other thing too. It's all sitcoms that there were very few Married with Children type sitcoms out at that time, right? Now, what I mean by that is, all sitcoms that featured a family featured a normal 2.3 kids, mother, father, middle class, blah, blah, blah.
Two
family.
cars in the garage, dog, cat kind of thing.
Simpsons kind of parodied that, but with their dysfunction was one of the reasons why a lot of families in the United States kind of gravitated towards it.
Yeah, because, I mean, the idea that, okay, I think Married with Children kind of pressed it to that one extreme, where it's it's just totally dysfunctional all the time. It's constant bickering, and people just kind of put up with each other because that's just what they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in The Simpsons, it was this constant dance. They would have moments where everything would be really good, and then, Bart or Homer or somebody would get ensnared in some crazy caper, and Homer's in his underwear, drunk, dancing on the fence at the Capitals baseball game, and ends up becoming the mascot.
Yeah. It was like Roseanne with Wile E. Coyote slept into it.
Kind of, yeah. I would love to see Acme show up a little more. Yeah, that'd definitely be cool.
But it challenged that. But one of the other things it challenged too was it was one of the first primetime shows for a long time that did political humor.
Yeah, it was the first cartoon that I remember directly doing that openly.
The Bill Clinton, man, Clinton got rung through every single ringer.
Yeah, the Lewinsky thing, the saxophone thing, the I did not inhale thing. I mean, just every little thing that we remember about Clinton. Yeah, they did not let up on him at all.
Now I do a pretty bad Clinton impression, because everybody does Bill Clinton. You can leave that joke for another day. But my attempt to do Bill Clinton is based off the Simpsons one, where it's very, very, hey, I'm Bill Clinton. Hope everybody's doing well. Just kind of that sleazy, grainy. You can't quite hear what he's saying, so you don't know what he's saying, and he can hoodwink you.
My buddy Alan does a spot-on Bill Clinton impersonation. It's so good. Yours is pretty good too, though, I gotta say.
But they took it to Clinton. They took it to Bush Senior.
Yeah, and Bush even used them as like a part of his political platform. I remember that 100%.
And I mentioned this last week with Luke, and I'll tell you, because I don't know if I told you about this or not. There's the story of they didn't know George Bush's youngest son's name when they were doing the episode with George Bush, because everybody thought Jeb Bush was the next guy.
Yeah.
So they just
HW.
Yeah. So they just randomly threw out. We don't know his name, so let's just call him George Jr. Why not? Little did they realize that in 2 years' time that man be the president.
Wow.
So, but it wasn't just the politicians of the political environment as well. They did tackle things like illegal immigration. They did tackle things like sexual politics, corrupt politicians. They were all kind of.
They had their own embedded pieces of that, like Mayor Quimby.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because he's the prototypical sleazebag politician. But his cadence and his voice is so John F. Kennedy-esque.
Oh yeah.
It's there's a strange duality going on there, because I think overall JFK is considered to be one of the better speakers that we had and one of the more noted speakers we had as president. And so to hear him say like halfway scandalous stuff in that very presidential official tone, it's pretty hilarious.
It's kind of the TV show Red Dwarf said it themselves. Kennedy's the negative side of Kennedy didn't come out until after he died, and everybody's got their Achilles heel. It's just his was just a little further up the body, right. And that's Dom and Joe Quimby. But I mean, everything that kind of had a negative spin in socio-political humor, or they could have poked at it, they kind of normalized it, then ripped that normalization to shreds.
Yeah.
For example, the episode where they dealt with illegal immigration, Proposition 24, they did all this protesting and stuff like that, and then you get a shot of the immigration center where they're all where the immigrants are there taking their citizenship tests.
Yeah, I remember that.
And like you see, Barney, Bumblebee Man, Willie, was it Louie or Luigi, the pizzeria guy?
I think it's Louie.
Mo in disguise.
Oh, okay.
But it was like, it was showing, we've got these stereotypical folks here, but look, here's the pillars of the community that are also here as well. And we'll talk about the LGBT community here in a few minutes. But it was a good way to do it. It was definitely the first of the 90s to do it. Not just animated, but TV show altogether. Because in the 90s, in America especially, and in Britain especially, it was just coming off the Reagan and Thatcher years, and politicians were only just starting to be seen as self-serving, corrupt, distrustful people.
Right.
And the Simpsons latched onto that, and just went ahead and took it in a whole different direction.
Yeah, they broke some serious ground on that too, definitely.
So, one of the things that was like a hallmark of the show was the town randomly breaking out into song.
Wasn't that kind of a later on thing? Because I don't remember a whole lot of that in the beginning.
I think it was around about season 3 or 4.
Okay, because I remember like in the specials they would do that.
Yeah. But
like Treehouse of Horror, Christmas, whatever, but not so much like in a regular episode until a little bit later.
I think I'm not sure which episode was the first one that did that. I'll be completely honest. I could like completely and utterly look through every single script of every
first one I can remember is Mr. Plow. That's the first
Mr. Plow,
that
yes.
I can just remember the song completely. I know there was others, but that's the one that I like. I remember it.
The first song that I remember in The Simpsons was the Flamin' Mo song, which was the parody of Everybody Knows Your Name, the Cheers song.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah. But like when they started doing the Broadway style,
the flash mob,
yeah.
High School Musical type thing where someone starts singing and they're walking around and other people are adding on and joining in and dancing and
I think
that never happens in real life.
I think, I sing to myself, random stupid crap all day long, but like I don't turn around and then my whole street is randomly singing it with me. But like the Monorail song, the Stonecutter song, all iconic. The Monorail song is oh god, it is like, it is the benchmark of what they did. And then they did other songs that were, that came out in later years, which were really, really good. The burlesque song, what was the song? The adults versus kids song was really, really good too. That's another one that I loved. But like the other type of songs too that were just basic soundtrack, in the background. I loved the Union song that they did, which was Lisa playing the guitar and having the whole power plant on strike singing. That's the working class Brit inside me coming out.
Yeah.
We march day all night by the big cooling towers. They have the people, but we have the power. I thought that was fantastic. I think that I don't think any other show has done that, with the exception, I think, of Glee.
If they did that, they did it after.
Yeah.
Definitely. Unless it was a straight up musical, obviously, but like an animated series, I mean, I don't know, maybe a couple of them, like like He-Man would have like a theme song that he would break into.
I mean, the only cartoons I remember is like Bugs Bunny doing the opera. You know, I mean, that's.
I don't think that really counts.
No, exactly, because that was the opera. But you know, it wasn't just music; it was celebrities too. I mean, there was a saying, right, in music that if Weird Al Yankovic parodied your song,
you made it.
Yeah. Well, if the Simpsons invited you to play yourself
in the 90s,
in the early 90s, that was like, you know.
Yeah, they had so many big names. Deion Sanders. Was that really good? Was that Dennis Eckersley? Whole bunch of baseball players, football players. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
They got like people like Jose Canseco and Darryl Strawberry to be part of the Springfield Nuclear Power Plant softball team.
Did they get Michael Jordan ever? Because that would have been.
They got Magic Johnson. Okay,
Cause Michael Jordan, you know, was arguably the greatest player of all time at that time. I still think he is, but
at the time
he was synonymous with the late 80s and 90s.
Yeah, but Magic Johnson was still considered the benchmark at the early part of the 90s.
You know, can I just say something about Magic Johnson?
Go ahead.
I wonder if he ever regrets wasting the greatest porn star name ever on a basketball career.
What's your name? Magic Johnson.
I mean, come on, people. There's no name better than that one.
Better than McGee. One just sports stars. All of the surviving Beatles were on there, including Linda McCartney and Yoko Ono, which shocked me. But I guess you could use it as the John Lennon thing. U2 have appeared on there, which was one of my favorite bits. Homer walks up in a cloth flat cap and like a wool jacket. The security guy goes, "Who are you?" He just walks in and goes, "Potato Man." "Well, it's about time you got here." You know, it's like, oh, okay, Irish folk like potato. They had Aerosmith, Red Hot Chili Peppers, David Crosby.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that was. Everybody basically that was on top of their game was on The Simpsons as a cameo, totally.
And what's even funnier is none of them did any music.
They just did like little bits and cameos and stuff.
Yeah, they had the pre-recorded background track.
Sure. Like
Red Hot Chili Peppers song "Give It Away," which I still think that's still one of my favorite jokes I mentioned last week. Was the whole, you know, the network wants to censor your lyrics. Nobody's censoring us. They said, look, instead of saying what I've got, I got to get and put it in you. Why don't you say what I want is I want to hug and kiss you? And the joke was the guys went, "Hey, that's better." So that's something for Tyler to know.
Wow. I heard that it happened to the Doors too the first time they played on TV.
Yeah, just censorship, man. You can't censor art. You can't censor art.
Yeah, just don't do it if you're going to censor it.
But also they got a coup. I think it was in the early 2000s when Tony Blair, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, actually did voice work for The Simpsons as himself.
Wow.
So, you know, it's. I mean, that was the power of it. You know, anybody who was anybody went on there, and you know. They played themselves, and the good thing about them playing themselves, right, is it made the universe seem
closer to home.
Yeah,
like just a different, like a parallel universe almost.
I mean, like Conan O'Brien featured in many episodes, wrote many episodes.
Yeah, he was on the Simpsons or the South Park movie too. He was really funny in that.
Jay Leno was on there as a friend of Krusty the Clown. You know, you had Smashing Pumpkins on the Lollapalooza tour.
Yeah, I remember that.
Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins, Homer Simpson, smiling politely. But, you know, that just goes to show the pull that it had, you know. I don't think they had a bad cameo. I mean, I can't think of one celebrity appearance on The Simpsons.
Yeah, they were always appropriate and timely and on point. Absolutely, I agree with that.
Let me rephrase that. I can't think of one bad cameo that was done in the golden era of The Simpsons.
Right, yeah.
Joe Namath was a bad cameo. He just walked up and just said, "Hey, kid, I can teach you about being a great quarterback, but can you tell me about vapor lock?"
You know what's funny about that? Joe Namath is actually statistically the worst quarterback in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And here's the thing, he was trying. After he got done playing with the Jets, he went to the Rams. His knees were already done, and he played like 2 or 3 seasons for the Rams, and he only played games because his knees were so shot. He ended up throwing like a 3-to-1 interception to touchdown ratio for those last 3 seasons.
Dang.
So when he finished his career, he had more interceptions than touchdowns, and the lowest amount of lowest completion percentage of any Hall of Fame quarterback.
That's messed up, man.
But he beat Johnny Unitas in Super Bowl III, so he got in. You know what I mean? But like he totally stayed around too long and just jacked up his career.
Well,
it's crazy.
That is the way with a lot of sports stars, you know. Especially, I mean, I remember. Segue people, my apologies. What was his name? Brett Favre.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing with them, they just both love the game.
Yeah,
maybe it wasn't about stats at the end of the game. They just wanted to play football. But Favre, yeah, he at that last NFC Championship game, he should not have been there.
No, was that the one that New Orleans won?
Yeah, he got absolutely just mowed over and over again.
They should do a legend circuit or something, you know.
A touch league or like a flag league or just like a QB challenge. They were doing that for a while before the draft, and they stopped doing it.
Charity games. See, that's one of the things. That British soccer teams have got. They've got what they call a legends team, and the legends team is made up of, well, they say legends, but I mean, you know, it's got like 4 or 5 legends, and then like 6 to 8 guys who played a handful of games at some point, you know.
Pretty good. Just basically whoever they can get.
Yeah, and they do like 4 or 5 charity games a year.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you know. So it kind of keeps them in focus. They do it for charity and whatsoever. But some of the teams, man, their definition of the word legend is completely different to my definition of the word legend.
Yeah, well, I mean, by legend you mean super old.
Right, there you go. It's like Arsenal defense these days. So talking of controversial subjects, the show had a couple of really let me just make sure I'm what I'm saying is right. Okay, the show had one really, in my opinion, really bad episode, right? And the intention was good, and the execution at the time was okay, but it has not aged well. All right.
Right. Yeah.
The episode's called Homer's Phobia, and you know we talked about Smithers last time out, and you know Smithers is so deep in the closet, right? And
he's finding other people's skeletons.
Yeah. But this was the first episode that had an openly gay character playing a lead in The Simpsons, right? So this is the mid 90s when you know the gay community is being more and more accepted.
Just now kind of being openly accepted and emerging and whatnot, yeah.
It was around about the mid-90s where everybody, you know, it was like the jokes were still there. The gay jokes were still there, the trans jokes were still there, but, you know, people were more accepting of the community, right?
Right. And
so they bring in John, right? John is the first character and was played by John Walters. So, you know, that's a stretch to name right there. And, you know, at first, Homer thinks the world of this guy. He's a great guy. He's funny. He's got a great pop culture reference. You know, he can down the drinks with everybody. He can play football. He's a man's man. You know, and then he finds out that he's gay. And Homer freaks out, right? He, like, you know, starts doing the dance. He's like, oh my God, we had a gay man in the house. What are we going to do? You know, and Bart starts showing stereotypical negative stereotypes, you know, in his personality. You know, he's cross-dressing. He's given a choice between a chocolate brownie and a pink fluffy snowball thing, and picks the snowball, you know. So Homer decides to straighten him out. So sits him in front of a billboard for 10 hours, right, of a naked woman. And that backfires in Homer's eyes because Bart asked for Slim cigarettes, right? He said, you know, so he says this billboard for 10 hours. How'd you feel, son? I really need a cigarette. Good, what you want? Something slim. Oh. So, you know. And then
right.
They take him to a steel mill where, you know, it turns out to be a gay club. And then, you know, they decide to take him deer hunting. because shooting a deer is like shooting an attractive man. That was the logic they were going with, and they end up breaking into Santa's village reindeer, and they are saved by John, right? And at that point, Homer is extremely grateful and realizes that he's being an idiot, but still manages to throw in one last insult. You know, he's like, you know, we've been saved by this awesome man. No, wait. Quick, right? Quick. Oh, well, you can call me that, or you can call me John. Hey, right? And that's how the story ends. John Walters had to tell the scriptwriters, and as shocking as it seems right now, right? John Walters had to get them to change one of the words in the show. That last scene where Homer says, "Wait, you know, we can call you John or we can call you," right? That thing. They were originally going to use the word as that. Now this is mid-90s prime time, you know, and John Walters said, "You can't use that word. The community won't accept it. Use something else." And he agreed to do it. Now it did kind of, you know, like we spoke about earlier, it built something bad up and then as normal and then destroyed it with logic and reason. Yeah. But the way it did it in this episode, I think it destroyed a lot of Homer's character. Right? Homer, selfish. We know that. He can be...
He's a little dumb.
He's a little dumb.
That's part of it, I think.
He's dumb, he's selfish, he can be a little chauvinistic, but it's not. But everything he does is not necessarily out of malice.
He's very primal.
Yes, it's selfish. It's out of selfishness, not out of malice.
It's out of self-preservation most of the time.
But he'd never shown any racist tendencies. He'd never shown any homophobic tendencies.
But I think they were trying to paint it more as like ignorance.
Yeah. But the problem was it showed a nasty side to Homer, right? That they hadn't shown in the previous 4 to 6 seasons, you know, and you never saw it again. And it just it made a mockery of who Homer was, and while it promoted positively the LGBT community, it also set it back a little bit in you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it
played on everybody's visceral base emotions.
They tried to take a step forward and they stumbled.
Yeah. And,
you know, and they didn't knock them back, but they didn't really go forward either. And,
you know, like I said, promoting an episode that shows that if you are not straight is normal. You know, people are people is what they were trying to do. But it just hasn't aged well. You know, it's just the route that they went. Looking back now, it is a very, very cringeworthy watch. You know, and I think that was one of the biggest problems that they had as time started changing. You know, as things started to become more acceptable, the Simpsons initially struggled but got back on track until the end of the decade. You know, but I personally don't think that that's aged well.
No, I mean, times have changed a lot since then.
You know, it's thing. But another thing now, the other main controversy of The Simpsons.
Apu.
The
Apu problem.
Yeah. Now, last week I said we were going to talk about it, and I'm gonna explain where I'm coming from, and I'm actually going to controversially defend The Simpsons production staff slightly.
I mean, if I could just give a quick commentary on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I really like Apu.
Yeah.
I think I love his disposition, and just he's funny. Putting all the other things aside, whether it's, you know, idealizing or stereotyping a race or whatnot, like, I don't think that was like the idea.
No,
I think it just kind of worked out that way, and according to what I've read, that's kind of what happened. It was a combination of notes, because I think they were going Asian initially.
Yeah.
And something else, yeah. So I mean, I don't think it was done out of malice at all, and I think Apu is absolutely delightful and hilarious.
Yeah, he's a great character, right? He's a shrewd businessman, and he's a doctorate in computer science. You know, so he's like he's probably the second smartest guy in the town, behind Frink, right?
Right.
He has had some negative stereotypes based on, you know, his ethnicity. He's a convenience store owner, and he has done some shady business activities, even though he is a shrewd businessman, right?
Sure.
He had an arranged marriage. You know, he's got a large family base, right? Part of the problem with Apu is the fact that he's played by a Hispanic Jew by the name of Hank Azaria, right? Huh. And I can't pronounce that word. Is Sephardi?
I think, yeah, Sephardi.
Yeah. And, you know, again, he's a great comedy actor, and
he does a lot of the voices on the show too, the bulk of them.
Yeah, and the thing about his portrayal is there's conflicting reports from him and the writing staff as to who decided what to do. Azaria claims he was asked to do stereotypical Asian accents, and the writers claim that they were asking Azaria to do a voice for the store clerk, and he came up with the Indian accent, "Hello, Mr. Homer." Right?
But the note said some kind of European descent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
what it was. I thought it was Asian.
Yeah. So it's he's offered to step aside, right? He's offered to he's offered to retire voicing that character and give it to an Asian American, Indian American to do it, because he's getting more and more uncomfortable doing the role.
I would just retire him and have a farewell episode, and then have like someone else take over the role.
Yeah.
Have someone else buy the Quickie Mart and just keep the same disposition, same gag, but just don't make it culturally insensitive at all possible.
Right, definitely.
That'd probably be the only way to attack it now.
Yeah, I mean, especially since the documentary came out, The Problem with Apu.
Where can you watch that? What is that on?
I think it's on Amazon.
Okay, perfect. I have that.
Basically, for those of you who don't know, it was at the time a lot of people decried the documentary because they just saw it as PC gone mad.
It's just like an Indian person who just wanted to be a hater. But
when you watch some of the people that they have on there, Whoopi Goldberg, for example. Whoopi Goldberg is very, very can spot blackface or brownface a mile off. She's done that her whole career. I mean, the Ted Danson thing.
Yeah, let's say she showed up to Ted Danson at an award in blackface.
So she definitely said that's brownface, and I'd take her word for it. A lot of Asian American comedians thought that Apu was a negative but positive role model, in the sense that the stereotyping of everything, but the intelligence and everything. Here's my opinion, right? This is where I'm going to give a sliver of credit to the Simpsons writers, but unfortunately I'm going to give them too much credit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm white. I can't tell a man, woman, or child of another race
that they're not allowed to be
offended by a caricature of their race.
Sure.
Can't do that.
You can't relate to that whatsoever.
Yeah, you can't do that. You cannot do that. Not morally, not ethically, and not logically.
Well, it's just none of your business. I mean,
exactly.
That too. I mean, it doesn't affect you, so why not? Why make a stink about it?
Exactly. But I think Hank Azaria's portrayal of Apu was less to do with stereotyping Asian Americans and stereotyping the ignorant who believe that crap.
Right.
So he was doing the basis of base accents and mannerisms and stuff like that, and the joke was not the fact that he was doing these things, but you find these funny.
Right.
Okay. So let me give you an example. Right. In American comedy, you got a character called Archie Bunker. Right.
Yes.
He was based off of a British TV character called Alf Garnett. Right. Now, I'm going to say this, and people will laugh. Compared to Alf Garnett, Archie Bunker was Jesus Christ.
Huh.
Right? Alf Garnett was a racist, foul-mouthed, sexist bigot who did not care, was selfish, and all that stuff, right? One episode of the show, he was doing a blood drive, and he got offended that there was a black man there giving blood, and the character was a parody of the British skinhead white nationalist movement that was going on in the late 60s, early 70s. But he did it so well that the skinheads didn't get the joke.
Right.
They actually thought that he was some kind of hero. And every skinhead who came up to him and said, I'm glad that you're taking all this humor to these people. And he'd just look at them and say, well, obviously I failed because you haven't got the joke yet.
Right.
So that's the closest thing I can say. I don't think Apu was necessarily a stereotype of of the Asian Indian. It was more a stereotype of the dumb white man who believes that that's how the stereotype works.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that wasn't even, and that was definitely not the only, but it was probably the most controversial of the stereotypes in that series as well.
Yeah, I mean, they did have stereotypes all over the place. I mean, you had Fat Tony and the DiMaggio crime family.
Right, the groundskeeper Willie,
the old Irish guy, the hillbillies,
even the corrupt mayor. That's a stereotype in itself.
Yeah, it was a show about stereotypes, but unfortunately, when you get into racial issues, when the show was predominantly written by people not of that race or that culture,
right. I mean, not voiced by them either.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why Blazing Saddles was able to get away with as much as it did with all the Jewish jokes and the black jokes that it had, was because it was written by Mel Brooks, who is the most outspoken Jewish entertainer in the history of entertainment,
right.
and Richard Pryor. So I think that's the way they get away with it. But I mean, The Simpsons also portrayed the elderly, Christians, atheists, nerds, jocks, Australians, gay people, straight people. They portrayed everybody bad, except for, strangely enough, African Americans, Latin Americans, and the Jewish community. They were all portrayed in a non-offensive manner,
Right.
It's like, I don't say they were scared to parody them or anything like that, but they drew the line there, and it's unfortunate now that that some of the things that the Simpsons did do, they should have drawn the line a little bit higher, right. And it's not PC gone mad. It's just, when people say PC gone mad, it's more along the lines of, I can't say racist stuff about people anymore without people getting offended. What's the world coming to?
Yeah, but I would argue it's kind of the contrary right now, personally. But
yeah, right. But so that's my humble opinion. Everybody can disagree with me if they want to. Everybody can agree with me if they want to. I really don't care. But yeah, I think you're right. When it comes to Apu, I think the time is right for either them to retire the character or retire the voice.
Yeah, or just move it,
repurpose the character.
Yeah, or just put somebody else at the Quickie Mart.
Yeah,
be done with it.
Yeah, and I think and the sad thing about it is because you had two other characters who were there who were portrayed by white folks. It was Sanjay, who is Apu's brother or cousin, and Sanjay's daughter. So
you do some kind of farewell episode where he can't talk and it's just like flashbacks.
They do what they did with Chef's Last episode in South Park.
Oh, I was just going to say, I hope they don't do that. Let him go out with some honor.
Well, no. What I mean is, what I mean is like don't voice anything new.
Right,
and
just
use old
repurpose.
Lines, but not use the hello children. I want to make love. Nothing like that.
All he can say is hello, Mr. Homer.
Yeah,
that's like all he can say.
But he goes back to India or something like that.
No, they find out he's actually a robot.
All they do with the what the pizzeria guy used to do back home, he would claim he was Italian. He would put on the Italian stereotype accent. He would speak in Italian. But if you ever saw him outside the pizzeria, he was Welsher than I am.
Right.
So Apu walks upstairs after all day, and then all of a sudden it's just like, generic American voice.
Yeah.
But that would cause more problems too, So I don't know.
Yeah, it's better. I think if...
Wipe the slate clean.
I wouldn't try to repurpose that at all. I think I would just scrap it and move on. And just remember the good times and move on.
Yeah. So, The Simpsons, right? There is a thing in pop culture right now called The Simpsons predicted it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like there's a tweet for everything, but now you can look at old episodes of The Simpsons and that they were this crystal ball.
Well, right? I think part of that is because there's so many episodes. They were bound to be some coincidences here and there.
Oh yeah, I mean like the main ones, the 6 main ones, right? That everybody points out. Ebola.
Yep.
Trump. Autocorrect. Smartwatches. Horse meat. And Siegfried and Roy getting mauled by the tiger.
Yep.
Right? Well, here's the problem with that, okay? All of these things happened before The Simpsons did a joke about it,
Right,
with the
right.
exception of Siegfried and Roy's Tiger.
Coincidences, just like I said.
Yeah.
You're on long enough, and you reference pop culture enough. Yeah, there's going to be some coincidence.
Did you know that The Simpsons predicted the Ebola outbreak in 1998?
Well, yeah, that's because it happened in 1996.
96, yeah.
It was in Africa though, and it didn't. I don't think it made it to America.
Can you believe that they predicted Donald Trump would run for president?
Well, he'd ran like 3 times before that. So yeah.
the Apple Newton, which was one of the worst products I've ever seen in my life, that shows autocorrect. No, it just was a bad product that had very, very bad handwriting recognition. You know? The Apple Watch or the smartwatch, right?
Kind of like a false equivalency in all of them, really, in a way, because they've been. Star Trek, the original Star Trek, had a form of a smartwatch. Maxwell Smart had a smartwatch.
I mean, Red Dwarf had a smartwatch with the main computer on it.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, Batman. There's like tons of people that had that before. So
Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of false equivalence, little confirmation bias, as in they see the thing and they remember the thing from The Simpsons. They put it together, not even realizing that. It's coincidence or it's a reference from the past.
Yeah, I mean, like the last two on this list, the horse meat scandals and the Siegfried and Roy Tiger. Look, if you keep a wild animal in captivity and whip it,
that's just law of averages right there.
Eventually, you're gonna get mauled by it.
Yeah, that's the law of averages, man. That's like
deservedly so.
That's like shooting 500 arrows up in the air and then getting mad that one comes down and hits you.
Yeah. And the horse meat scandal, what most people in the Western world don't know is that in Eastern Europe, right, getting good quality beef and chicken and stuff like that is very, very expensive. So a lot of countries use horse as an acceptable substitute. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if you eat anything like a horse or a dog or something like that, you're an inhumane monster. But I'm not going to judge other cultures.
It's inefficient to eat a horse. Horses are much more valuable as a way to like yield crops or transport yourself, but I mean, whatever. And I guess if times are tough, you gotta do what you gotta do.
And trust me, alligator is the best exotic meat ever.
It is good.
Horse is a little too gamey.
It's too stringy. There's not enough fat on it. That's the problem. They're too muscular. Too muscular. Yeah, especially the horse racing ones.
The other big thing was that The Simpsons did it first. And
I think the whole, going back just a little bit to the last point about the whole The Simpsons predicted it.
Yeah,
I think a lot of that spurned from the South Park episode where they one of several episodes where they poked fun at rival comedies.
I think they poked fun. I know they poked fun at The Simpsons, and I think they poked fun at King of the Hill as well.
They did Family Guy. There was a 3-part episode.
I think The Simpsons and the King of the Hill were kind of good-natured. Hey, it's the three of us. We're the Holy Trinity, and the Family Guy one was just an evisceration.
Yeah. The whole walruses like grabbing letters and dropping them into the thing. Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
And then they constructed the perfect Family Guy joke. It's kind of like what they did the psychic dude. You know, hello, I'm thinking, okay, welcome everybody. Okay, I'd like to speak to Jamie. James.
No, I'm looking for someone. The name starts with a letter, maybe a M or a J or a P. Hey, we have a dead friend. Shut up, that's not how that works. Okay, I'm thinking. My husband's name was John. Oh, that's it, John. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
And
he saw it. He died, right? It was like a death, right? A death that made people sad.
Yep.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. I love how that both of those series were willing to call people out and to just show them for what they actually are without any reservations whatsoever.
And not just and that's one of the things that I hate to say The Simpsons did it first, but I mean, like we mentioned Clinton earlier. They ripped Clinton everything that they could.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know. I don't recall it being too terribly brutal because some of it was like about, oh, hey, he wears sunglasses and plays the saxophone, and then it was like, oh, hey, Monica Lewinsky, and it was like, oh, hey, some of it was kind of fun, but yeah, they didn't take any prisoners in that one.
It's like The Simpsons were. What's the best way to say this? If you compare The Simpsons to South Park, right? The Simpsons were the mini-boss designed to soften a target up.
Yeah.
And South Park was the boss to tear him down.
Yeah. And you actually see allusions and references for all of these shows in all of these shows at one point or another. I mean, they all either talk about them or reference them in some form or another.
And they all did crossovers as well. That was the weird thing too. Simpsons did and by crossovers I don't mean like full length episodes with the Flintstones meet the Jetsons type deal. More along the lines of I can't remember whether it was the baseball or the football team. Bart made the football team, and they win, and then like as the players are filing out, you've got Hank Hill and his family sitting in the thing going, we drove all the way out here for this, after Bobby's team had lost, right? Okay. And so you had Simpsons bits on Futurama and Futurama bits on the Simpsons. Like for example, they were doing a telethon, and there's Bender as one of the phone pledges. Family Guy had Simpsons crossover. The TV show The Critic, The Critic and not Family Guy, The Critic and Futurama, I think shouldn't necessarily count, but I think they should, because while they're set in the same universe, they're not spin-off shows.
Yeah.
And like we've mentioned, South Park did that whole episode where
it was a Butters episode. It was one where he was mad because like his friends didn't want to play with him or something happened. So he went on a Professor Chaos thing where he was trying to think of all these ways that he could end the world, and every time he would come up with something, his little sidekick, I was like Captain Destructo or something, or Professor, I don't know. He would tell him that the Simpsons had done it, and it got Butters really mad, and he's finally like, look, the show's been on the air like 23 years, like, yeah, they've talked about everything, they've been on for a really long time, that's how that works. Sure, they've done it all. Well, so it was kind of a nod and almost kind of a jab in a way. It was
a nod, a jab, and look, you've been here, make some room for the rest of us. Kind of thing. Well, and also Bart played a big part in the Cartoon Wars episode too that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that you've ever done? Well, I once cut the head off a statue. I once killed a guy's parents and fed it to him with chili. It's like,
wow, man, you're pretty hardcore.
So yeah, but no, I mean, and it did inspire all those guys. It inspired Family Guy, Futurama that were in the late 90s. I don't think it inspired the likes of Beavis and Butthead, Family Guy, but they definitely got more popularity.
It gave them a foothold. I don't think there was more. Yeah, I don't think it was so much an inspiration. It was more, hey, we got this cartoon here too that's kind of rude and crude, kind of more geared toward a more mature crowd, etc. And that was kind of like, another chapter or another leg of like what the Simpsons franchise was trying to do,
And not only that, kids cartoons started putting more lewd jokes in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I got 3 examples here of shows that had lewd jokes in them that were kid shows. You had the Rugrats. One of my favorite jokes of all time was we have Reptar 1, Reptar 2, and Space Vixens Volume 9. But
that's for later.
That's for when you were in bed.
Yeah.
The Powerpuff Girls, they had Miss Cerebellum living at 46920, yodeling her way. So basically, she was living at 69, 420, slang for oral sex.
Also, Rocco's Modern Life.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Didn't he work, somebody worked for a sex line?
Yeah.
And it was completely obvious. Was it Mrs. Big Head, or was it like so. Him, or...
Yeah.
Rocco.
Yeah. And they got away with that on a kid's show.
She's like in a teddy.
Yeah.
It's
even Animaniacs got into it. Hey, I need you to find Prince. I got him, and pulls out the
right.
The characters. No, I mean fingerprints.
No, but even the hello nurse thing where they would get like eye boners every time they saw that one nurse.
But no, fingerprints. No, I don't think so today.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. Oh.
Well, you know how you find Will Smith in a snowstorm.
Look for the Fresh Prince. There you go. That's how Darth Vader knows what you have for Christmas. He feels your presence. But like my humor, eventually it declines.
Well, I mean, going back to kind of circling back to the other point. I mean, you've been a franchise for how long? You put out how many episodes that the well's gonna run dry eventually. I mean, even the Beatles had to break up eventually, right?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, they kind of got Yoko'd. I guess it's a whole nother story for another day. But you get what I'm saying? Like, everything's got to stop at some point.
The Beatles could have gone on another generation if they just let George Harrison write more. Welcome to my TED talk.
It kept Yoko away from the band.
Yoko is the excuse. I just think Paul McCartney was looking for an excuse to get away from John Lennon.
Fair enough. Yeah, I've heard John Lennon was not such a great guy.
John Lennon.
In retrospect,
John Lennon was the opposite of what he preached.
That's a shame.
Yeah, because here's the thing, right? And again, another tangent, but this is an important one. You play something by Chris Brown, right? And the first thing they talk about is how he beat the crap out of Rihanna, right?
Right.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. So why are you playing that John Lennon CD?
Yeah, it's no different.
You know, so somebody tell me the difference, please. I'm begging you. But the decline started, right? Even though The Simpsons would have a few more golden years after this, the first real episode where they shot themselves completely in the foot was the Who Shot Mr. Burns episodes. So they were trying to play on the Who Shot JR thing from Dallas, right?
Yeah, for all you youngins.
And at the time, you know, even people, 1994, 1995, that, you know, Who Shot JR was still kind of, you know, topical, right? Because it had been referenced and used in a lot of things. And so what it was is Mr. Burns had blocked out the sun in Springfield, stolen an oil well from the school, and was making everybody's life miserable. At the end of the show, he's shot after a big town meeting. Everybody in Springfield is a suspect.
Didn't they make everybody wait for the conclusion too? Didn't they have to wait the whole season?
It was the season finale of season 5.
I think I remember that.
And the opening of season 6. So basically, the length of time in between seasons is how long you had to wait.
It was like 3 months. So they had the summer off or something like that.
They filmed every character shooting Burns, and they filmed 4 reveals, right, to keep the voice actors and the writers guessing. Not the writers, the animators guessing, right, so nothing would leak out. And it was widely believed that the shooter was going to be Smithers.
Because of his love triangle thing.
And he'd just fired Smithers too.
Yeah.
Right, so everybody thought it was going to be Smithers, you know, and then it turns out that it was Maggie. And they were fighting over a lollipop. And
that's kind of lame.
It's kind of like the needle scratching on a record.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
That's it. And like they knew it was a disappointment, because when they did the 138th episode spectacular clip show, you know, they had Troy McClure come out and say, all throughout the summer of 1995, we were faced with the mystery of who shot Mr. Burns. Then we found out it was the baby. Anyway, you know, and I think that was a huge misstep, and I think it was forgiven by a lot of people because that was like the first bad show that they had. But I think at that point, that was the first time
that we saw a little
chink in the armor.
Yeah, exactly, a little bump in it. Yeah,
it was the first time they'd been punched, right? You know, first time they'd been knocked down. And then a couple of years later, right, they do an episode that was so bad that everybody said that this is the point. This is where, you know, this is where the well had run dry, and now it was becoming just another TV show, and the humor on it was gone, right? It was called The Principal and the Pauper. And what you find out is that mild-mannered Principal Seymour Skinner, who was afraid of his mama and was a POW in Vietnam, was actually a former greaser by the name of Armand Tamzarian, who only joined the army. It was either that or go to jail. And
it's a Rambo situation.
Yeah, and then he befriended Sergeant Seymour Skinner in Vietnam. Skinner died, and he assumed Skinner's life. And then the real Skinner shows up.
I thought Buddy died.
Oh, but it turns out he didn't die. He was captured.
Huh.
And spent years as a POW in Vietnam and was released like 2 weeks ago. And then just walked back into town And then Skinner left.
The fake Skinner?
What we know is Skinner left.
Tamsarian
left. And the real Skinner tried to pick up the piece. I mean,
that's like a Swiss cheese plot hole right there.
And then at the end of the episode, they sent Skinner off on his. They sent the real Skinner off on his way, and changed Tamsarian's life to. Basically they legally said that you are now Seymour Skinner with all his history and future. And that's the end of the episode.
Okay.
And it's not. It wasn't even funny. I mean, I'm not even talking about it had maybe one or two bad jokes. I watched that episode maybe 15 times, and I didn't laugh once. There was nothing in there that made me even. The only thing that made me chuckle was when they were trying to persuade the Tamsarian to come back.
Right.
And he said, "Don't you get it?" He goes, "Don't you get it? I'm not Seymour Skinner. I'm Armand Tamsarian. This is Armand's bed. These are Armand's curtains. This is Armand's couch." And Homer says, "Armand, can I look at Armand's dirty magazine?" "Yes, you can." That was the only thing I laughed at.
Right. It's like they were trying to build it into something, and it just didn't really go the way they wanted it to, or they just didn't have anything, and they thought they did.
Yeah, and it's kind of...
They spent a lot of time making that mistake, so they just went with it.
I think the other thing too was we mentioned the homophobia, right? And how it showed a side of Homer that that wasn't there before and wasn't there since. This basically took mild-mannered, simpleton, simple Professor Seymour Skinner, and not Professor Skinner, Principal Skinner, and turned him into a sleazy criminal con man. Again, destroying the character. And it just... that's where it jumped the shark, and I don't think it ever recovered from that.
Yeah, I gotta watch that one again.
It was like Mike Tyson getting knocked out by Buster Douglas. At that point, the shine was off the apple, and he was human again.
Yeah, it was a fun ride.
The show was human. And, it had unrealistic slips of comedy, right? And winks and nods and breaking the fourth wall and stuff like that, And little jokes that you can get away with because, it's an animated show, right?
Right.
But those two episodes... was so far-fetched.
They marked I think, that probably tarnished them a little bit.
Because everything else was somewhat based in reality.
Right.
Even the over-the-top stuff had some basis in reality, just cranked up to 100. Okay, Homer fell down the gorge. Yeah, but that's a slapstick spoof.
When Bart jumped the ravine with a skateboard. Yeah.
Homer ended up doing it and ended up falling down the thing.
That's what it was, yeah.
And then Homer got airlifted out of there.
That's one of my favorite episodes, too. Yeah, that's a good one.
Homer got airlifted out of there and fell back down and again wasn't injured. Okay, fair enough. That's not based in reality, but that's part of slapstick comedy.
Sure, there's a what is it called? Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. It's Wile E. Coyote level.
He gets his face blown off, and then, all his teeth fall off, and then you see him, a split second later, he's fine, and he's rigging up something else.
Yeah, basically this was Wabbit season, Duck season, fire, and then Homer pulling his bill back from around his mouth. Around the back of his thing. So you could get away with something like that. You can get away with, the whole family sitting on the couch, and Bart saying something along the lines of, "Lisa, it's just a cartoon, it doesn't have to be realistic," and Homer walks by the window while he's sitting on the couch. That was a wink and a nod at the fact that it was a cartoon. It wasn't the main plot point of the story. You can do the odd gag that breaks the fourth wall, breaks physics. Yeah.
You can have a BEC story, and I think that was another thing they did that a lot of cartoons were doing. Like, you would have a Lisa thing going on, and a Bart thing going on, and and they don't have to be connected.
Yeah. And some of the plot lines that they had during the last few years that I was watching. Homer went on driving a diesel truck across country. What?
Right.
How do you get the time off the power plant?
Yeah, right.
The power plant... Okay, in one episode, Homer finds a bunch of sugar, right? And Marge said, the plant called, if you don't come in tomorrow, don't bother showing up the next day. But yet he's got all this time to get in a diesel and drive cross country.
Right.
Springfield is split in two with a garbage wall. Why? Because of a new area code.
Yeah, I mean the
Bart
well
steals a tank.
The well just kind of it's either the well started running dry or they just felt like they went into full rock star mode. Like, we can just do whatever the hell we want. And people are gonna love it.
And unfortunately, a lot of the old school hardcore fans have abandoned it. And like, my daughter's 14, right?
Right.
And I don't think she's watched The Simpsons.
I mean, I've faithfully watched it growing up, and it's probably been a year or more since I've caught an episode.
It's been since before I got here when I was watching it regularly. And
well, they're not gearing it towards kids anymore at all. It's fully towards my generation, the 30-somethings. I mean, it's fully a face to that.
And that's the thing. You can't go back to everything fine, but like, do what it did that made it funny. It was finger on the pulse, cutting edge.
Right.
And now it's looking for cheap laughs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was because maybe they thought they were too topical, like maybe too preachy, up their own butt type of thing. But I'm really sticking with the well started to run dry just because of the amount of content that they've had over the years. I mean, it's inevitable. I
mean, right now, as of we're recording, a couple of months ago, they were renewed for 2 more seasons.
They should call it Springfield.
Yeah.
The Simpsons Springfield or something like that. I mean, if I were them, I would have done a spinoff like years ago.
And that's the thing, they were too afraid to do a spinoff because every other Matt Groening production
has not done as well.
No, The Critic didn't do well, but that wasn't very funny.
But King of the Hill was probably his second most best thing.
Yeah, but that was Beavis and Butthead, Mike Judge.
Oh, what? Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm getting my people mixed up. Yeah, Mike Judge did. Okay, yeah.
They did Futurama.
That's what it was.
Futurama was a damn good show.
Yeah, Futurama's amazing.
It's just it didn't catch on, right?
It's kind of cult following a little bit, yeah.
I love Futurama. Those first couple of seasons, man.
Great humor, great characters, great writing, yeah.
But I think with the failure of The Critic and the lukewarm response to Futurama, I think they got scared of doing, They
didn't want to put all their eggs in one basket on a Simpsons spinoff.
They did the 22 episodes about Springfield, where it showed the daily lives of everyone. And I think the other thing that they did was they did do a specific show that was based on spin-offs.
Right.
Where, Principal Skinner and Chief Wiggum become a private investigator. But I
mean the holiday episodes almost served as spin-offs in a way. They were almost that in a way, and I think that kind of showcased that they had the ability to do that. It's one of those things. It's like if you're doing something and it's going well, why change it if you don't have to? Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, as we say in the South. And
unfortunately, they kept they did the Michael Jackson. They kept fixing it until it was broke.
And the thing is, like their broke was still better than someone else's absolute best.
True.
So they themselves set a really high bar early on in the golden era, as we like to refer to it, seasons 1 through 3, 4, right around there. So even though the later stuff is not quite up to par as that, it's still really good. I think we should stress that immensely, that it's still very good, but it doesn't up to snuff to the earliest stuff.
I think for me, the way I would describe it would be like Oasis, like the band Oasis, right? I know you wonder where I'm going with this. The first 2 albums that they did are considered stone cold classics, can't be touched. Then the other 5 albums that they did were rated and reviewed and everything like that, and always compared to the great 2 albums that were at the beginning, right?
Right.
But if those albums had been done by another band, they would have been heralded as a success. So let's just say, I don't know. Let's take the episode that I mentioned, Home Run Butt Cross Country with a Diesel, right?
Right.
If that had been, say, Family Guy, or what's now Bob's Burgers, Ricky and Morty, that might have been funny for them, but because of the universe that was already established in, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't think it came off well. I think personally right now The Simpsons should go away. Go away. They got a movie coming. They got 2 more seasons signed up, and they've got apparently the second movie in the works.
Yeah, just go ahead. I think it's getting close time to hang it up. I know I'm not like a producer or higher up for it, but yeah, I think they've run their course really well.
I think it's time.
Do a spinoff.
You've got plenty of characters in that. Do a spin-off.
Do a spin-off and just do whatever you want to. Call it Springfield and make it about every episode about a different character.
Yeah. I don't
know.
Do the Springfield Police Chronicles.
Do the Reno 911, but it's the Springfield Police.
Yeah.
I'd watch the F out of that.
Off the PC Brigade. Do the Apu Chronicles. Something. Just stop now with the Simpsons.
Yeah, it's kind of beating a dead horse to a certain point. I mean, do you think they could, if they continue, that they will damage their legacy?
I think they already have.
Like they're gonna Joe Namath themselves. See, I knew that would circle back somehow.
I think that they already have because, like I said,
So they're playing on two bad knees for the Rams right now.
I think more along the lines of they're playing on two bad knees and a dislocated shoulder.
Gotcha. Throwing shoulder. Gotcha.
Yeah, because like I said, my daughter and my son, I mean, were I was their age when it started to go bad.
Right.
They've never seen a proper episode of The Simpsons. And I don't mean like, from the classic era. I'm talking about they've never seen The Simpsons because...
Like a new episode that was worth crap.
Yeah. They just see it as just another show, whereas...
Yeah.
They don't get it,
They weren't there for the golden era.
But if they saw the golden era, they'd be like, holy this is a good show, And I think that's where the problem is the fact that it's not appealing to a newer generation, and it's run off a lot of people that grew up with it.
Yeah, I think they're slowly alienating the older fans and trying to draw in new fans with different things, but I don't know. I think the bulk of them are probably us,
And like I said, on their worst day, the episodes were 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Now on their best day, they're 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean...
And unfortunately, the best days are not coming the way they used to.
I mean, it's better than most, but definitely not up to the caliber of the original, like, golden era.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's like, as the band Pulp said, it's a bad cover version. So, it's like the later Tom and Jerry when the two of them could talk,
Yeah, right? What's that all about?
So, all right, guys, that's pretty much everything that we have to say about The Simpsons. Basically, one of the greatest shows of all time, definitely one of the greatest cartoons of all time, and now is the time to hang up the dough. So, we will be back here in a few moments, and stick around. We got a couple things to talk about, and then we will be heading out of here. All right, guys, we've got a few more minutes before we get on out of here. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us. Hope our rambling wasn't too rambly. But last week, we asked everybody, the week before last, we asked everybody, what was your favorite episode of The Simpsons? We got some good answers, and I'm going to read them out right now. We had Maggie's First Word from Jamie. That was the episode where they were trying to get Maggie to talk, and then eventually they had Liz Taylor have her say "Mama" at the end of the episode. Again, that was another cute classic episode that, that you knew everything that was going on there. I can't pronounce the next the next one on the list. El Viari Misterono de Nusro Homer. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means.
You did some kind of crazy talk with your mouth there, boy.
That's what I did. Basically, the episode is the Great Chili Contest, which features one of my favorite Simpsons jokes and one of my favorite Simpsons cameos, Johnny Cash. One of the greatest musicians of all time, and one of my favorite jokes. Basically, Homer eats an insane chili and ends up going in the desert where he met Johnny Cash in coyote form, and he sends him out to find his soulmate. And at the end of the episode, Homer is in front of the lighthouse with his silhouette cast in, and you got the silhouette of Homer's body, right? And Bert and Lisa are brushing their teeth. They look at the window and go, "Is that Dad?" Well, it's either Dad or Batman's let himself go. And then, of course, John said, you only move twice, which we spoke about last week, which is Homer doing the right-hand man of supervillain Hank Scorpio. So that's it. Thanks, guys, for your response. I really do appreciate it. Next week, we ask you, what video game series do you enjoy that didn't have the greatest of beginnings. So, for example, in my case, it would be something like The Elder Scrolls, because those first 2 Elder Scrolls games were tough.
Yeah, I kind of retroactively got to those, so
yeah.
I mean, I haven't really played either of them in detail either. But yeah, that's a good question. I may have to actually think about that one.
And the reason that we bring that up is because next week we're going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
the original Grand Theft Auto.
I think I could say that Grand Theft Auto was one of those ones. It was fun in the beginning, but like if you compare it to the mechanics and the gameplay now, obviously it's way more fun.
It's a different league now.
Yeah, it's a totally different thing.
But yeah, for me it's the Elder Scrolls, or maybe even the Madden series. You know, that wasn't exactly great either.
Yeah, it was definitely special now in retrospect when I look back. But yeah.
So I'm going to put that in our social media pages so that you guys can give us your opinions. Greg, man, it's been awesome to have you on the show. Once again, because my brain is addled, where can we find you online?
We're on all the holodecks. You can just Google search us, and it'll show everything for us. Our social media pages, theholodecks.com. That can you can book us from there. You can watch videos, get in touch with our social media site, send us a message. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, theholodecks.com is really the one-stop shop for all things 90s.
Sweet. And like I said, I'm not just blowing smoke. I've seen you guys a few times. It's a really, really good show. Next week, as I mentioned, we will be doing Grand Theft Auto 1. Perhaps it was a good game, and it was definitely a good start to a franchise that is now considered one of the best games of all time. Grand Theft Auto 5, for example, according to like every single industry has its own person, right? So you've got like Roger Ebert, for example, the movie guy.
Yeah.
So if he says a movie is one of the best movies of all time, it's one of the best movies of all time.
Sure.
This Japanese publication, which is considered the video game publication, said that Grand Theft Auto 5 was the second greatest video game that's ever been released.
Besides Legend of Zelda?
Yeah. It was either Legend of Zelda or it was Final Fantasy. I can't remember which one. But basically, Grand Theft Auto 5 was the second best game ever created.
It's a really, really well done game. I played it both on PC and PS4. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very smooth. Very few glitches or... I've played hundreds of hours on it, my PC, and it's never once crashed. So, I mean, yeah, it's a really, really well done game. It's a big game. Very big game. I think it's like 90 gigs.
Are you listening, Bethesda?
Yeah, it's...
Elder Scrolls 6 better be good.
Yeah, I mean, working on it for 9 years, yeah, it better be flawless.
Unfortunately, they're using the Fallout 76 engine, which has gotten better. In fact, Fallout 76 is now, with all the patches and everything, is the game that they wanted. But it's taking a hammer, and quite rightly so.
They rushed it. I hope they will at least balance timeliness and effectiveness with the new release. So yeah, we'll see.
So we'll see. But that'll be for next week when we talk about Grand Theft Auto 1. So guys, if you are on social media, look up us at Because Maybe Network on Facebook. Look up YouTube, bit.ly/BM Network-YouTube. Or you can find us on Twitter at _Because Maybe. And of course, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. And of course, we are going to be uploading these podcasts to YouTube eventually, probably a week or so after we release them to the feed. So guys, that's it for right now. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time. No TV and no beer make John something.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do. What?